You are now tuned into This Korean Life with your hosts, Brian and Nate.
Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of This Korean Life, number 109, featuring Dr. Danny Kessler, professor at Dongseo University, teaching the international students in his own lab, and he is teaching workplace wellness, all the way in from Busan. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to see you again, man. I was happy to see you actually last week. You came down to visit us in the festival, all the way in Donggu. That's just the opposite side of where you probably came into. What did you think? Did you meet some interesting people down there?
I ate a lot of cookies. Thanks
Sure.
to you. Had some cookies, not very wellness like of me, but there were some good cookies.
I had a meltdown there at about 1 o'clock. I was like, I need something in my stomach, man. I scoffed about 30 cookies. They were great. But
yeah. I love the international environment. All the students and workers from all over the world and all the different food. I was just eating and trying to see some old friends that I haven't seen in a while in Ulsan. So that was nice.
It's amazing. I mean, on the organizing side of it, you see the names of the different tents and the countries that are participating. But for me, it's not until you get there and you look and you're like, oh my God, Palestine and Philippines and this and this and this. And you're like, wow, that is quite international, man. You know, in the early days here, it was just the teachers from the 7 countries that we've seen, right?
That's true.
And that's
really changed. Ventured over to Donggu, there was a lot of variety over there.
Yeah.
At the shipyard, it was like segregated. Teachers on this side and engineers on that side, and they never had to leave. Mm-hmm. And it was single engineers.
Right.
Young single guys with huge wallets. And it was a different beast over there. But I played hockey with guys from 7 or 8 different countries.
Yeah.
Europe, Canada, Mexico. I mean, they're from all over in Europe. Or Canada, America, and Europe. But men, they always existed over there. We just never integrated. And then as the shipyard changed and they started bringing families to go to Busan Foreign School became an option, or Busan International School. Right. Then they moved to the center of the city because going an extra 30 minutes to Donggu was a pain in the ass. But that kind of opened everybody up to meeting a lot more engineers and families. But now, I mean, it was quite segregated in the early days, yeah.
But I mean, a lot of our volunteers and people who ran the culture tents were foreign students, right? There's a good mix of engineers and wives and stuff too, but there was a lot of foreign students in there.
Yeah,
and that's that's one of the reasons why, or one of the topics that we're going to hit today is the
international students.
Well, even just on what he just mentioned there, what is it like in Busan? Here, if I had to guess, I would venture that maybe 70-80% of teachers here are now South African. Is it similar in Busan?
I don't really notice that because I'm teaching in I'm teaching business and I'm teaching in international college. So most of my students are foreigners, are international students, and I see like some of the English teachers at the bar. There's definitely some South Africans, but I don't really know them very well.
Yeah.
They're newer, so maybe it's the same thing.
Because we see them when they sign up to volunteer, and there's no teacher volunteers. Like it's international students, foreign workers, laborers, or like families of engineers.
Right.
Where before it used to be like when Dan was doing stuff.
Right.
It was all teacher focused, right? Like it was tons of teachers.
It was T-Hope. It was called T-Hope.
Yeah. T-Hope.
But yeah, now, and I don't know if it's a South African thing or whatever, but there's virtually no volunteers that are from teaching.
Yeah,
which is a huge shift for us. I mean, trying to recruit. So now it's like, recruit all my students,
right?
Because before you could depend on Ulsan Online, and you'd get 10, 20, 30 teachers.
Yeah.
Now you got to put it through the student groups because there's no teachers signing up to do anything.
Where do your students mostly come from? Or you got a good
Most of them, Vietnam, Uzbekistan, Malaysia, and then a few other countries. I have a student from Brazil, a student from Colombia.
Cool.
But those are the three main countries
Cool.
that I have students.
It's funny when you get that weird or odd one, right? Where are you from? France. What are you doing here?
It's
Where are
kind
you
of
from?
nice though.
Brazil.
It's like
Oh,
I like to have. It's like
great.
it's nice to have that because then you have these different like perspectives, different personalities in the class because they kind of have their own like cultural personalities. It seems like.
Sure.
Yeah.
We have some really interesting ones now. But, but the standard, still the staples: Uzbekistan, Vietnam, China.
Yeah.
I love chatting with them. They're just endless like knowledge from. Yeah, I mean the kids are younger too, but just inquiring about their countries and getting their ideas and thoughts and just little quirky stuff about their country is pretty.
And they're
interesting.
so smart. Like I'm not all of them, but there's a few. Like I had I took through the workplace wellness research lab. We got a tour of the Hyatt hotel, the Park Hyatt in Marine City, and then. We got to tour the wellness facility, and then I took them out for dinner, and then we walked to Hyundai, and I was like playing playing some game in the cafe, Gen Z with a bunch of these like there was like 7 or 8 of them in the cafe, and I don't know the name of the game. It was like some game where you get like a word and you in your phone and you
Spin
have
your Tinder?
like, the word was like no it was like
Spin your Tinder.
it was like okay the word it was like KFC, so I read the word KFC and then I cannot say KFC but I have to say some clues and then you read your word and you say clues and one person has a different word than like the other. Most people have the word KFC, let's say, but one person has it, and you have to figure out who the spy is. This is a very high level game where you have to have a ridiculous vocabulary in English.
Yeah.
And I'm playing with these students, and they're good students. They're above average. They're the ones that get to go with me to the Hyatt. And I realized that at that moment, it was like, these kids are so smart.
Yeah.
Their English vocabulary is better than my brother's. Like they're able to like not just like
Throw 'em
just
under the
general
bus.
academic vocabulary, but like they were so smart. And they were like able to even like subtle words and connotations that a lot of
nuances
Americans,
of that.
I don't think they could do that. And these are kids are from like Malaysia and Vietnam and Colombia. And I was just like, wow, this generation is different.
Sure.
This generation
Well, I mean,
is
the-
really
But that's not all of them.
no, but and then I wonder because like maybe they are also very smart, but they don't have the English skills. Like these are the ones with the English skills that can do it, but probably like a lot of them they study internationally, and I think it's just like when they're young, the exposure to information. Like we grew up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that they have the internet. They can any query they have. They just can look it up, or if they're interested in something, they can just go down a rabbit hole on anything.
And I realized that I was visiting my brother in California. I was training with his wrestling team, and then I was talking to them after about like diet, and I'm like, oh yeah, you guys trying to show off my knowledge about like, oh, you have to eat this, and they're like looking at me like, yeah, oh, we know.
Yeah.
That. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, wow, like these kids know everything.
Back
they have
in my
all
day,
this
yeah.
knowledge.
You don't need a personal trainer. You don't need a dietitian. It's all available. I mean, it can't be customized personally yet via AI, but if you put in a few metrics, I mean, it'll get you on the right path probably.
Yeah, it's amazing to me where like I remember discovering this. It took me like 5 years or 10 years to figure out like the right diet, and these kids already have it, and they're like, yeah, we know.
Yeah, it's wild. I think the original purpose of the 4-year undergrad was to expose you to just like a wide range of topics and stuff like that. But now that's what I'm saying, man. We don't need. I think the 4-year undergrad it's not necessary anymore.
No, it's just
unless you're going in for something specific.
But with this has come up 100 times. It's not just that. It's the maturing process. Lots of people don't know what they want to do at 18. You got to have a few. And people are I don't know now. I mean, when we went to uni, it was a maturing process. It was learn to critical think, problem solve, live on your own, pay your bills. It was that I think that's the most valuable part, while also maintaining, that you have to pass your grades or you're just wasting money, or it was learning how to live, which I think a lot of people here lack. I mean, living in the dormitory, I mean, they grow up so much just moving to the dormitory. But that's not American dormitories. I mean, this is still the Pee Wee Herman or the Mickey Mouse style dormitories. But they are growing up and becoming a little bit more independent, which is necessary. But I still find like they still don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
The guys in the engineering departments, okay, they're dead on. But these humanities majors and stuff, and they have no clue.
That's what I'm saying. They should, if they eliminated that, and you knew in middle school, like, oh shit, I gotta jump into something in the next few years. I better make a decision. Shit or get off the pot, man.
So what do you do? You graduate high school. What?
You go to get training in something, and if you don't like that, then you retrain training these days. You know, in an ideal situation, like you could jump into a job, whatever. Say you want to be an electrician, then you're like, you know what? I don't like this shit. Whatever.
Terrible example for here, internationally fine. For Korea, I mean, no one's going to be an electrician. That's the thing here. This whole thing. You have one kid. They're not going to be an electrician. They're not going to do the dirty jobs.
No.
There's only a set standard of acceptable jobs within their family and their culture that is okay. You have this prince or this princess, and they're not going to do all this shit. And this is why you have 3 construction guys retiring that are 60, 65, 68. They have knowledge of doing this thing for 40 years. You need like 10 foreign workers to replace these guys. 10. Because
that's what I'm saying.
They come with zero knowledge.
You should jump right into a job, and if you don't like it, now we have asynchronous learning, man. You can do, if you don't like your job, but you can go up your skills.
But I think
or
those
whatever
jobs require like apprenticeship, where they need the guy that's retiring kind of has to like get to know and mentor and teach the younger guy. It's not tacit learning. Like it's not like you can learn that on YouTube. You have to kind of be there and do it. So it's a little bit different.
But I think this is more in Korea, at least, it's seen as a waste of time. We're at home, you're not looking at a career of doing the same job for 40 years now. People understand they're going to do 8 different things. In Korea, it's still, my dad's worked for Hyundai for 40 years, and I'm going to work for something for 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
And that if you're doing that and you fail at that fail shows that you wasted the time and you're a failure. Where at home, it's just the next stepping stone. You're changing industries, changing fields, whatever. I think here it's pick your thing, get to know what your thing is. And if that means getting a basic level of knowledge in university, then specializing in something else after, that's kind of the safety route, maybe.
But is that just going to keep extending? Originally,
everybody has a master's degree here. It's not stopping.
But see, that's what I mean. We had to dial it back.
Academic inflation.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a master's degree, and they still don't know what they want to do.
You're going to need a doctorate to pork.
But at least once they graduate, I mean, the guy's 2 years Army, 4 years uni. You're 6 years older than coming out of high school. I mean, 1, you better know what the hell you want to do. And 2, if you don't, you got another big problem. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't.
The other problem with Gen Z is, I think, because of COVID, they're like, they don't really want to do anything. They're kind of just like stuck on their computers. I talk to some of my students and I try to like get it out of them. What do you want to do? And I just want to work from home. I just, they don't want to take, like, I remember, I'm sure you guys are like me, obviously. We're here in Korea. We're explorers. We're adventurers, and just like,
I like that tag. I never thought about it like
really,
that.
It's like get out and try something, do something.
Sure.
And experience something, because the more experiences that you get, the more you can figure it out. You need to.
It's not finding the thing you like; it's finding things you don't like, which whittles down, and eventually you'll be left with what you do like.
Right, or just doing
like
something you don't know.
Whatever
you don't
else.
know until you try it.
Sure.
So I'm all about encouraging students to try different things, getting them out of the community, introducing them to different things that they wouldn't normally put themselves into.
That festival you came to, all my students, Professor, this was the best thing I've done in 4 years in Korea. And I was like, but I've been bugging you to get out and do stuff. And you never left your community of, 4 Nepalese girls or 6 Uzbek guys or whatever it is. You've never left that. And I've tried to encourage you. I've given you so many different things. Now, the other day there was a thing at the college there. They had something, and there was some Nepalese guys playing guitars and singing, and they were awesome. And I said, guys, you should go to the open mic nights at JJ's.
Yeah.
And you guys like dancing, like you love to dance, you should go and dance there. Even if it's not your holiday or whatever, people would really enjoy to see you're performing, something passionate. And they're like, really? Oh, and I'm like, yes, you clearly are a great musician. I asked this other guy, I said, he asked me something about a church, and I said, did you go to the church? Because it's people from all over the world, and it might not be the same church as home, but there's not many options here. And if you go and put yourself out there, he's like, well, she didn't return my call. I said, did you really call? Here, I'll take you by the hand and walk you over. I'll come to church one day. You play 3 instruments, right? Like all the Ghanaian boys. And they made friends for life through the church and through the band. And you're good at it. That's your skill, your talent. You're awesome at it.
That's how you make international friends. You're good at hockey, and everyone wants to be your buddy, and you're good at something. And and I have to do the same thing with my students. Every Monday, remember Mindy? Yoga Mindy? She was in Wilson. So she's got this set up every Monday night. It's a beautiful thing. It's Monday night. There's free yoga at this bar in Guanali, at Gorilla Bar, and from 6 to 7. And then there's a running club from 7 to whatever. The runners come back, and then there's live music. And every week there's a new live musician. It's with Liquid Arts, which is like this. I
know that. Yeah.
With Kenneth May, and it's great. And it's like every time I go there, I see some people I know. I meet some new people. I'm not running at like 7 p.m. I work out in the mornings and stuff, but like there's a lot of interesting people. And I met a guy from this entrepreneur the last week, and he's got a video game company. He's looking for students to like try his video game, and then now I'm connecting my students with that. And I love this, like, now that COVID's over, it's like, enjoy the world again, enjoy meeting people. So, this Monday coming up, there is remember Marta, you guys had Marta on she's doing an event on the same night. So there's the yoga, and then there's the entrepreneurship event at the Gorilla Bar. So I'm just I'm like telling my students, come on down. Like, you guys have to like put yourself out there. Yeah, man. I have one student. She's makes TikTok videos, and she did some business with some Korean cosmetic company. I'm like, you want more business? Come to this event. I'm sure there'd be someone at the event that can do that. But it's like you have to kind of like hold Gen Z by the hand. It seems like you have to kind of like.
I feel I'm part of that too, though, because I don't know. Growing up, I felt there's kids and there's adults, and adults know what's going on and they got connections. But as I get older, I realize it's more exactly what you just said, like putting yourself out there, and you meet one person, you're like, oh, this is how the ball starts rolling.
Is this Gen Z, or is this personality types? Or have personality types really changed? I mean, I don't care where I am in the world. My family doesn't like it. I got to find people to talk to. I teach a civil servants class there, and every time I see them out in public, whatever it is, or even if I'm driving by and they're finishing a course, I see them, and I say, "Hey guys, how you doing?" And they're like, "Oh," and they're on a 1-year sabbatical and they're studying, and I say, "Hey, if you see me in public," I've told students in university for 12 years, 13 years, if you see me in public and you come and talk to me, I'll buy you a beer, an ice cream, whatever.
Same thing.
But, I taught at the YWCA there, a bunch of women's classes, recertification, so they can do after-school program. They were in the workforce, had families, got out, and now they want to come back. And I see them all over the place. And I always do the impression, like when you see them at Costco or Home Plus and you're on the other end of the aisle and they go, "Oh shit, that's my teacher." Turn the other way and beat a lot of them. No, come and say hello. Like, it's the opposite. You're comfortable in class and professor's my friend or whatever. But when you're out in public, it's like, when they say, "Oh, we don't want to bug you with your family," I'm like, my family hates me because I talk too much. Like, I'm looking for people to talk to actively. Please come and save me. They don't want to hear me. They tell me to shut up. They don't want to hear too much. So.
Do you introduce your family when you meet?
Nobody comes up when I'm with my family. Oh, okay. But yeah, if they did, absolutely. I mean, once or twice, yes. And I introduced my wife, but.
I never do. I'm just so excited to see the person. I'm like, "Oh my God, Dan, what's up, man?" And then the family's just standing behind, not like, "Are you going to say hello to us too?" I just totally block them off. And it's.
But my other problem is that I know too many people. And my wife's there and she's like, And I'm like, come and I'll introduce her. Come, I'll say, she's like, I don't want to meet just random people all the time. Like, I don't know. I have no connection to these people. And I was like, we were at the park the other day, and I was giving her the, come on. And she's like, well, I don't know who the heck this is. I'm like, yes, you do. You do. You just don't realize. You just think it's another one of these random people I talk to. But it's, Che and Joan's mom, and she's inviting us for a barbecue, and she's like, why does your wife keep walking by 20 feet away and looking over here and not saying hi? And she didn't realize her. And I was like, just come. I'll introduce you. Walk away if you want.
When you stay around here long enough, Wolfson's a pretty small city. When you stay around long enough, you get to meet lots of people in different areas. Yesterday, man, I started a new class. This guy's got a rental car company. Go in, and I know I've taught his wife before, and I was talking about the festival that you were at, and I was like, oh, we do it with these people and this people. They're like, man, you know so many people. I was like, no, not really. Dude, his manager walks in, he goes, Brian! He was a trainer at my gym 10 years ago. Brian, what are you doing? I'm like, oh man, this is very unusual. Very unusual to happen, but it's a pretty funny situation.
But that's also it. And I referenced it on the last one we recorded, that when he went home, he said, you know what? Through We Hope and podcast, we can talk to people anywhere about anything, any time of day. And that's part of it. And I think it's part, maybe my wife doesn't, that's not her style. When we got married and walked this university street, we would bow to every business owner, because we lived here for 10 years. We partied on this street. She's like, how do you know all these kids? Like, I've lived in these places for years, man.
Jopo Galby's he's a delivery guy now.
Really?
Oh, dude, I almost smashed him with my car the other day. Give him the horn, but
so do you think two things? One, how you bring kids out regularly to different things?
Yeah, now that COVID's over, it's like there's an event going on. I'm like, how can I connect my students with these events? Because they're going to get so much out of it. And I enjoy it because I love to connect people. That's what happened to me when I was a student. I got older mentors and older teachers connected me. So I try to do the same thing.
But when I think of my university days, man, I try and be the guys that I didn't have. My guys were not approachable. They were old school. I sit here, 300, 400 people in a lecture hall. Yeah. Like it was not 20 students. I learn about your family and your part-time job, and I know lots, hundreds of students, but I know lots about all of them.
I guess it's more of not necessarily when I was like a student, but when I was like starting my businesses, and then I had a lot of mentors that kind of held my hand, walked me through the process, connecting me with the community. So I try to do the same thing because it was like, wow, like looking back, I was like, I was really lucky to have those sort of mentors in my life. Sure. So I try to do the same thing because these students, I mean, they're international, they're here, they don't really know much about Korea. And a lot of them, they're working, they're students and then they work. They have part-time jobs. So finally, they have a little free time. I want them to get the most out of their time in Korea. I don't want them to sit in the dorm room and just look at it. Yeah.
And that's not part of your job description. But Nate, you, Danny, and Jeff, you guys all go above and beyond to incorporate the students as much as you can into every different aspect of Korean culture.
Yeah. Well, that's why.
And I think the universities maybe don't realize that added benefit that you guys are, I don't think that's appreciated enough. And what we're going to talk about, they want to double the foreign student population.
Yeah. It's going to become more and more clear how important that is as it diversifies, because without the connection, it's blatant. I mean, lots of the guys just run away and work. It's all over the country. Marquis University has 2 students. And like 10,000 online students, but 2 practical students, and a 50-year-old guy and a 60-year-old lady. Yeah. Everybody else is online because they don't come to class. So, but just backing up a bit, only you, your university, your colleagues, your network, only you doing this, or is there a lot of foreign guys doing this, or are there Koreans doing this? Because my experience is the Koreans are still very not approachable. For the most part, they're not approachable. And I think to my days at UNIST, I mean, Professor Tartar, Professor Kim, students loved these guys. They were attracted to them because you could talk to them, especially as a foreigner. But in Korea, they just kind of see that hierarchy where, okay, you're here, I'm here. We don't talk to each other. You're just pass your information to me. But the way of educating people is changing. But in terms of just this kind of liaison or mentor or role model position, is that only you at your university or among the other ones? Is there others that do that?
There's definitely some other professors in international college. I know there's one professor in the film department, and I saw him out at the restaurant that I frequent with a bunch of students. They went on a hike and then took them to Spa Land. So there's definitely that happening at Dongseo University International College. I don't know about everyone, but I know I probably do it quite a bit just because I'm also a single guy. I have more free time.
That's the next thing I wrote
So
down.
I don't have a family, so it's
Right.
like, you know, it's easier for me to have that space in my schedule to do it. So like last month, the former prime minister from Mongolia, it's really interesting. He's been emailing me back and forth, but when he writes me emails, he writes like the text in the subject of the email, and we're writing like back and forth yesterday. And he's like this. He came to Busan for the book tour.
You just get like a long ass.
Yeah, just not long message, but it's in German because you know he was ambassador to Germany at some point.
Holy moly!
Yeah, and he came to Busan last month, and he did a book tour. And then I posted in my Facebook group. I was like, "Who wants to meet the former prime minister of Mongolia?" So a couple of my students showed up and got to meet him, and like to them it was, I mean, even to me it was like, oh wow, this guy's like a statesman. You know, this guy's a real.
It's a real deal.
Yeah. So
He ran a country. He ran a country.
He ran the country in 2014, 2015, I think. And something like that. And then the students got to take photos with him, and then they got a nice experience. And it was an interesting conversation we had in, at his book tour. There were some good questions asked, and we learned about like his experience living in East Germany that turned into Germany and how that gave him some insight into understanding capitalism. And when he came back to Mongolia, he did pretty well.
Oh, good for him.
So it was very interesting, and I'm always like thinking, okay, what's going on here? How can I connect my students? So there's a guy that I'm meeting on Monday night, and I think I mentioned earlier, he has a video game company or a phone game company, and he's looking for students to make content, to make TikTok videos and social media. So I told my students, I said, which one of you guys are on TikTok? Like half of you. Who wants to do some business with this guy?
Yeah.
And whether it works out or not, it's a good experience for them to to give it a try, see what he wants.
Do something different.
Yeah, instead of just
get another
typical,
experience.
Just a lecture, pass the class, part-time job. Like life is more than that. Life is a lot more than just
That's
taking classes.
my undergrad was worse than you just go to, you just explain, go to lecture and write the test and pass it. It was so much more bleak than that. It was not go to class, panic attack before the test, barely pass the test.
I mean, my undergrad, I was just like, I was having a lot of fun and doing a lot of martial arts. But like either way, whether I was having fun, I was meeting people, and I was doing martial arts, I was meeting a whole different group of people.
Sure.
So it's like, you got to do that in university.
Yeah.
$. You got to do that. I mean, like, then you're going to get old.
That's
and you're
that
not gonna be able
stage.
to
I mean,
enjoy it
most
anymore.
people aren't coming out of high school starting, $1 million businesses. They don't come out knowing they want to be a brain surgeon. This is their kind of figure out period. And I don't know if self-directed learning on YouTube or Coursera or Khan's Academy is the way to start funneling all these young people. Like, go figure it out yourself. It's all available. You don't have to pay for uni, but this is it. It's kind of finding your place and learning where you fit in and where you don't, and what makes you tick and what doesn't. But
that's a good point, man. Maybe they need that 2 or 3 years of like decompression to just think about, what do I want? Maybe it's the step back after a brutal high school here.
Yeah. I was going to say, if I didn't have kids, I wrote down being single and is it only you? But I think of Jeffy and he does an amazing job with the kids, and he's older now. He's 60?
60, just turned 60.
And he treats them like his kid. I mean, he doesn't treat them like his kids, but he kind of does. I mean, that's his family, right? He doesn't have family here. He's got his wife and that's it. But that's his family, and he relishes those experiences and stuff. But I don't know if like the where he works isn't. They're not saying, well, he does this because he needs to. If he doesn't do this, he's going to go insane. So we're just going to let him keep doing it and milk it as much as we can. They're not putting that together. But I think if Jeffy didn't have that, there'd be a huge hole. A huge hole. So this fills that hole. This is his family. This is where he puts his extra time and effort, and he loves it. Yeah. And it's great. But I think he should be compensated for it. And if I was in your shoes, I'm sure I'd be doing the exact same thing. And the only reason I'm not out bringing kids all over is because I got a family, and
got my goddamn kids at home.
They gotta go. They gotta go to swimming and gymnastics and hockey and whatever. Otherwise, I would be.
Sure.
So I think that's a huge part of it, and I think it's great that you do that, because what a waste if you wanted to have your own personal life or something. But I'm sure you separate it. But it's also great, and doesn't it feel good?
Yeah, it's
to give them those experiences and know that you're influencing and making a difference in someone's life. Like the kids that write, my wife says, "Why do you volunteer? Why do you?" And I said, "Look, here's the messages after this festival. Best experience I've had. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I want to do more of these. I want to help more people. I want to engage. I want to connect." I'm like, that's why you do it. And I hope there's good people out there that will do that for my kids.
Yeah.
Like I went and got a kid out of jail there about 6 or 8 months ago at 6 a.m. And my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just sleep. All you have to do is sleep. It doesn't affect you. Just sleep."
Right, yeah.
If my daughter's studying in Paris or Rome or Guatemala City and they're in jail, I hope they feel comfortable calling someone to help get them out instead of bumbling through, broken language and getting in trouble. So I don't want to be, the guy's dad or whatever, but if you have to, sometimes you have to, and the guy appreciates it, and he's forever grateful. He realizes what he did wrong, and hopefully it doesn't happen again, but it's not a weekly occurrence.
And even if he doesn't realize now, I'm sure at some point down the road he'll be like, "Oh, that guy really bailed me."
And that'll be paying it forward or filling someone else's bucket up later, and what goes around comes around.
I think you should change that analogy, man. That's good.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you. You said you kind of have to take them by the hand, but is this just international kids? Because the Korean kids are traveling more than ever. They're so much more independent now, while also, once they're in Korea, they're just very conservative and in their shells. But these are the same guys that are going to Japan for the weekend with their buddies. They're the same guys that are going, here, there.
On the parents' dime, though.
Some yes, some no. But they've traveled with their families growing up. They're the first generation of kids who got to have leisure travel growing up. Yeah. Their parents didn't do that. It was only business trips for businessmen. So their moms were the first ones. Let's go to Guam for a week or Philippines for 5 days, just because, not for anything, but just for tourism. And they're the first ones that have stepped out at 19, 20. Their assignments, they reflect these memories all the time. And I went to Japan one time, and I went to Thailand one time. You're like, you guys are getting out there.
Yeah.
Finally. And I think I spend a good portion of my classes advocating for travel and experiences and this other stuff. But when you said, they need more mentoring, more guiding, more leading in some aspects, but I think in other aspects, they've really grown up a lot different than their parents in the last 2-3 generations. Because, man, kids weren't, "Hey, I want to go to Nepal and volunteer." I'm like, huh? Where'd you get that? They watch these shows on TV. What are they called? Those
travel.
There's one or two shows of, and you meet. My mother-in-law will say, "Do you guys make cotton candy pizza?" And I'm like, "Where did you get that from?"
Son of a
I
bitch.
watched it on the show. It was at the State Fair in Alabama, and I was like, "What? When were you watching the Alabama State Fair? Like, what are you talking about?"
But I think when you're talking about taking them by the hand, you mean specifically like in Korea and helping them make connections.
I would
not
say just
so much
encouraging them to do things that they a little bit out of their comfort zone. Of course, they'll do their thing. They'll do whatever the norm is for like what their friends are doing, whether they're Korean students or international students. But I mean, we had some students. There was this SDG, this sustainable design competition, and I got one student from Gyeongsangdae, one of my top students. And we pushed them, and me and this lady by the name of Mary O'Neill. You have to have her on the podcast.
Mary O'Neill?
She's a 79-year-old lady.
Beautiful.
She was in the Olympics in like 1970 something for sailing. And she lives in my building. She's retired. She was running like the Sheila De Hakio English program, and then she retired, obviously.
Wow.
And she's the most amazing. She
In
lives in my
Olympia.
building. I hang out with her like 3 times. I see her in the cafe every morning.
Yeah.
We're having coffee. And me and her, we mentored these students. And we pushed them to enter this competition. And they ended up, we found out yesterday, they got honorable mention. They didn't win. But the prize was like 3 million won.
Yeah.
I'm like, go for it.
Look at the
And like, if we didn't push them, they probably would have, maybe they would have done it. Maybe they wouldn't have done it. But we pushed them. And then we like gave them some really good ideas. And then they made the video. And like, it's a beautiful thing.
Sure. Yeah.
It really is. And working with her and working with these students. And now their resumes are filled with such nice...
It's another feather in their cap, man. That's
really, like the students that work with Mary in a previous project and then this project, I mean, their resumes are looking good. And then when they're competing in this very competitive world, they have these things that they can put on their resume that make them look good and stand out from other people. So I guess it's the students that want to be pushed out of their comfort zone. I want to be there to
give them that extra kick in the ass.
Yeah. And I really enjoy doing that. And like kind of like the We Hope, like it's the idea of like I put a lot of time and energy into it. I don't get anything, but I do because I like the feeling of seeing them succeed.
It's funny, eh? Doing all this stuff and pumping other people up, but yeah, it's
a sustainable energy. It's different. Like, okay, you do something for yourself, you make money, and then you have money, but it's like it's a little empty. It's like, okay, I have money, but when you do something and then you see other people and you like plant a seed and let that seed grow, it's like,
dude.
Wow. Like,
But that connectivity and community has been the center of
civilization
mankind for centuries.
And I think that's why it's a sustainable feeling. That's why it's like a really nice flow state when you're helping these students.
Yeah.
And I think it's more gratifying when you see the direction society's going in, which is the exact opposite direction of disconnecting people. And when you bring them in, and the light goes off and goes, wow. And now I know, like I introduced an Uzbek guy to the Uzbek leader who's like an auntie. She's married to a Korean guy.
Yeah.
But they never connect. This is my problem with the community leaders and stuff. Like you lead the Americans, but it's only students. And he's from China and he leads the Chinese, but it's only factory workers or married wives. But none of the sections intersect. And it's not, there's no collaboration, there's no communication. The students do the student thing, the factory workers, and immigrant wives do immigrant wives things. But when we bring them together, you got the know-how on TikTok and Instagram and do marketing. Auntie knows how to cook, and we can make her a website and send her samsas all over the country. And these guys should be working there from your country. Like when you have a problem or you got a tax problem in your country, I can't help you anymore. I can help you in Korea, I can help these things, but when you got like one of your cultural or whatever, I can't help that. Then you need, your older auntie here but they're not connected. And so the light goes off in these guys and I'm like, go and introduce yourself, get all their phone numbers. And he's like, she's from my hometown. We spoke the same dialect. And she said she lived here 20 years and never met anybody that speaks our dialect. And I met her mom who's here. And I was like, dude, all I said was like, put yourself out there and be open to experiences.
Yeah.
But you're walking the walk too. We were busy at the festival, didn't have time to sit down and like, hey, go meet these people. You went and chatted up and met probably 10 people on at the thing there,
I love it. I love doing that. I love meeting people, but it's also, I think there's this book I read called The Weirdest People in the World. Mm-hmm. Really good book. I think it gives anyone who's lived internationally like we have, it gives you really good perspective on understanding like the West, the weird, which stands for Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic, and then the rest of the world, which is the majority of the world. And most of the psychological studies that they have done in the last 20, 30 years is all based on weird populations. So it's not really correct.
Yeah.
And if you read the book, it talks about how the majority of the world, like they're much more clannish in terms of their orientation like Western people were very comfortable meeting someone from another country, making a new friend. We're very open-minded, and where like their cultures there, they have like a lot of family, cousins, huge families with cousins. So like if you have a family, if you had like, 10 cousins and 7 brothers and
no need
sisters
to meet anyone
you don't
else.
need to meet someone outside. And I think the book talks, I can't remember exactly, but it was something about how like in Europe the church banned, like let's say they banned multiple wives and cousin marriages like 500 years ago or something like that, and then that caused the Western people to go outside of their own circles to meet people. And then now in the last like 100 years, other cultures have copied the Western way, and you only have to have one wife, and you can't marry your second cousin, but in a lot of cultures they do that. And then when they're meeting people, they only feel comfortable meeting people in their own like circles.
Clan.
So where Western people are able to connect outside, and that's why it's like, I remember I was with a couple of students, and I saw a guy who was an American guy, and next thing you know, I'm like talking to him for like 20 minutes, and my students are looking at me like, "How did you just talk to that stranger? Like, you don't even know him." I'm like, "Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it." But a lot of cultures, the majority of people, they're not like that.
Koreans included, or it might be my wife. She said like small talk or just going to chat someone up is very like mentally stressful, and like I don't know what to say. I'm like, we just whatever just comes out of your mouth. You don't think about it.
If they're not your Sunbei or your Hubei, you don't know.
Yeah, it's different.
It's hard.
You have to have that connection.
It's hard.
And then when you have that connection, it's unbreakable. Hey, Sunbei, we graduated the same university 26 years ago, and I need a $500,000 investment for my startup. Oh, okay. It's okay.
Right.
And it's just how it works. We're at home, you have to go around and you actually got to put it out there.
Yeah, and I think also they're afraid of that because they when they do have a friendship, it's like that means like, I'm going to lend you like $5,000. That's like
you have to have 3 bottles of soju to make the concrete relationship first.
That's true.
Concrete relationships.
Yeah.
You mentioned you mentioned resumes and filling them up. Lots of empty resumes across the board. Koreans, international, lots of it. And I try and tell the international students, like, working at BBQ Chicken, I mean, these skills are transferable and applicable, to future jobs. The factory skills are probably not your monotonous job. I mean, at least if you're in a restaurant, you can get people skills. You can upgrade your resume to say you had like some sales experience or some money experience.
Right.
But in the factories, they might pay a little bit more, but you're just putting in time and getting money, and it's not doing anything. But I look at these things, all these opportunities, contests, workshops. You have to have something on there, and so many of them have nothing.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
And when they do have something, it's like 2 months this, or one shot this, or I did that, or. Huh?
Yeah, I was talking to a student yesterday, and he wants to apply for his MBA in UK, and he doesn't have anything on his resume. I'm like, you need to like start a campus club. You need to
volunteer.
Exactly what I said to him. I'm like, listen, here's an opportunity. But again, it's like, are you going to do it?
You can lead a horse to water.
I'm telling you, I'm telling him what to do. And because most people aren't doing that, even like, making a LinkedIn page and like doing something, but I don't know if maybe it's their own culture, they have their own way, and they have their own way of, maybe they go back to their country and they have like business connections. But it's like, if you want to go to UK, you better like, go on ChatGPT and look up how to make a CV for UK.
When in Rome.
Yeah. So I give them whatever it is like they need, but it's a matter of them doing it. I can point them in directions, lead the horse. Can't lead the horse to water. So.
But anyways, we're saying Korea wants to increase their student or double the student the foreign student population
300,000 by 2027.
Yes. Do you think we were chatting earlier? But do you think, or both of you guys, the question like, do you think, or what should Korea be doing to keep the students here? I mean, it's one thing to get them in the door, but I think it's important as well to keep them here or integrate them further into the culture. So it's not really an us and them kind of feeling, right? You want to kind of support them and get them into roles. As we said before, they're integrating or implementing. You need some Korean language skill. You can't just come here. But
how about the first one? What's the problem? How do we get to here?
Yeah, it's tricky because I would say the average Korean professor, and I know this from my previous university, they're having trouble teaching in English. And the international students, maybe they can study some Korean before they come to Korea or when they're in Korea, but I believe they want classes taught in English. They want content. They want to learn business in English.
Well, when I went to university, if I didn't grow up in like speaking English every day of my life, I think it would be very hard to learn to listen to a 2-hour lecture in a foreign language, or like if you're level 2 or level 3 Korean, how can you exist in a university lecture?
It's not meant for that. It's meant to get. This is what I said. What is the problem? The problem is the lowest birth rate in the world. The marriages going through the floor. I mean, in marriage rates going through the floor.
Yeah.
There's no kids. Generally speaking, there is no kids in the last 10 years, and there's none moving forward. And there's no. Did you see the CCP yesterday, or President Xi, or 2 days ago? He said we got to go back to the old way, and women, you have to follow the party's plan. Stay home, make kids, and take care of old people.
Wow.
He's like, whoa, we're going back like 50 years.
One child policy, and then back to just...
Yeah, but they said we have to go back to our traditional roots and values, where women have to not focus on jobs, but family and babies. And dude,
I know, yeah.
This is their... Didn't you see? He had four new steps to,
He said this the other day.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Korea... So the other side is Korea, where they don't say to do that, but they have no idea how to manage this problem. And Japan has the same problem. A very fast aging population, no kids, no marriages. What do you do? So this increase the student population thing.
Yeah.
Now the question is, in Korean or in English? In Korean, you're limiting yourself, right? I mean, how many people... Sure, this Hallyu, BTS, K-pop, it's not going to last forever. I mean, everyone in Southeast Asia isn't going to want to come here forever. Now they watch K-dramas, BTS, so they want to come.
And if they have a base in English, which is kind of world language, they don't want to... Less people would want to
I think
learn a new
international
language.
students need to have a base in English to study internationally in general.
Oh, sure, but I'm saying picking up the Korean language would eliminate a lot of potential...
But picking up the English language means they probably wouldn't stay here. So it's a catch-22. I mean, I have no idea how they can... If you're going to learn, like the kids at UNIST, Post-Tech, KAIST, they study in English. We've had 4 or 5 of them on. Google, Apple, Microsoft. I mean, these are not guys who are going to be staying in Korea. So the Koreans who graduate from there, some of them probably choose to because it's comfortable, it's their home country. But these guys are coming from different countries, and they can go back to their countries and work for these super companies. Why would they stay? Now, okay, let's train them in Korean. You got to be passionate about Korea and living in Korea, and otherwise, you're not going to be staying here. So, how many people in the world are there that are willing to be educated post-secondary in Korean and make Korea their life? It's also very limited.
Yeah, because Korea is competing with all these other countries with the same birth rate problem, like France and Germany,
Canada, America.
Yeah.
So. And that's the thing. So now the way to get more students in is to educate them in English. That's the answer. If you offer these programs in English, and look at UNIST, it's full. KAIST, it's full. UNIST is all English. KAIST has a lot.
Right.
Seoul, Yonsei, they just said 30% by 2025. 30% foreign student body.
So how much
30%
how much
body.
Cultural erosion are they willing to allow before?
So if you said 30% of Seoul Day and Yonsei Day, and can you imagine a society where 30% of people are foreign? Like, that's incomprehensible here, but that's the direction we're going in.
They have
That's within the next 10 years here.
Right.
It can't function as a country.
10 years is by 2027. That's 3 years, 4 years.
No, that's the university. I mean, as a society.
Oh, as a society, yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, like I said, who's going to do all these labor jobs? We were eating at the Tewagang last weekend. There was a team taking down scaffolding, 12 guys. 9 of them were foreigners.
Sure.
There's no Korean mom pushing their kid to go take down scaffolding. And these guys, and the Korean guys are like 55, 60. So, I mean, it's a major conundrum here. Japan, China has the same thing. They have all these guys that are 25, 30 that have no jobs. It's all huge unemployment. And now they want them to have kids. They got no jobs. How do you want them to have kids? The Korean guys are the same, right?
Well, back to the Gen Z thing. And I saw a video yesterday that the one girl's like, I don't want to work. You guys are all, harassing me because I don't want to work. She goes, before, working used to lead to owning a house and having leisure time and being able to afford food. She goes, it doesn't matter if I work hard or not.
Right.
I can't buy anything. So that was, one point in there.
How do you turn that around? How do you motivate, inspire those guys to see the light? And somebody, I don't know if it was Rogan or somewhere else, Diary of a CEO, that said, you have to reposition the wealth. Because even in America right now, it's like the top 20% of people, not rich people, they're the oldest people. And 50 years ago, the oldest people had like 30% of the wealth.
Yeah.
Now the 20% of oldest people in America control like 90% of the wealth. So none of these young people have money to spend. It's all old people hoarding it. So it's a redistribution of the wealth. But back to this.
Slow down, Bernie.
Back to this Gen. As far as I can see, it's just going to, how many? 20, 30 universities closing per semester? It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So if you don't.
You got to think too, were they overinflated at some point anyways? Do you think there are a lot of bullshit universities?
100%. 100%. But this is what about
like
the States? The States has like 5 million community colleges and all these little, right? Like,
but I would say the difference is in the
culling.
States is the prestige of the American university is so strong. I remember reading some book about how they recruit the CIA. Let's say you're a CIA guy living in Venezuela or whatever, Mexico or somewhere, and you want to recruit someone to spy for America. You tell them, listen, we'll give your kid an education from Stanford.
Beautiful.
And he's like, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Stanford. I'm talking about all the community colleges.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's
keep the Ivy League fine and state universities, whatever, fine. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't think people realize when some of the foreign students go, I want to go do a master's or something. Like, where should I go?
University.
There's 20 million universities to choose from. And they're like, well, this one's in New York. Whoa. New York City is not all of New York. There's a big part of New York that you've never heard of.
Sure.
And 98% of New York you've never heard of.
Salamanca.
So I think you're going to see that everywhere of people learning online different ways and places closing. But here, it's a major problem. And international students solve that problem. But where do you see it going?
It's tough. It's tough to say. I don't know. I mean, the international students are happy because they can come here. They can, the soft power from the K-pop, K-drama, Korean wave is strong. So they are living that like sort of fantasy of coming to Korea and getting closer to that action. And then they're also working and making money and sending money back to their home countries. And I think
the base salary here is like 5 times what they'd make.
Yeah, it's a lot of money for them. So they're satisfied in the short term, and then Korea's satisfied. So it's like a win-win in the short term. But again, in the long term, I don't really know, because are they going to stay here? Probably not. What is Korea going to do? Because they need to replace these families. There's no young people. There's not many young people. So Korea has to do something to. They need keep people staying.
A shift in the immigration policy where it's, the entry is it's impossible right now. I mean, if you want to come here as a business guy, I mean, until a year or something ago, it was $500,000.
You need $500,000 to get
Well, listen, if I got $500,000, I'm not coming to Korea unless it's the niche market that I need.
Right.
There's way less red tape and way easier places to get in where they will accept English as a working language and what. I mean, you're not coming here with 500 grand. And at the same time, if you want to take these students from, again, Eunice, Post-Tech, KAIST, or your university or mine, hey, give these guys an entry into the workforce here. That's not factory work. That's not this, where they can use their skills. So either English has to become a much more common language here, which would allow all these guys to stay and work. And then it's, bring your brother, bring your cousin, get them working and keep the money in Korea. But right now they're getting fleeced left, right, and center. Students can work 25 hours, but they all work 50.
They got to start paying tax now.
They send home 90% of their money. Yeah, so that's it. But that doesn't fix anything.
Then the problem with them doing that and giving the foreign students more power, more leverage is it competes with Koreans. And they don't want to compete with the international students because the international students are very competitive. The ones that are at Eunice,
the good jobs here are for Koreans, and foreigners can do the other jobs, but
that's
they don't want to give. They don't want to give that up yet.
Yeah,
they don't want to give that up yet.
I mean, it's like think how hard the Koreans work to get those.
Well, that argument's been happening in back home forever. These goddamn immigrants coming in, taking my jobs.
No, they take jobs you don't want. They build themselves up, and then they turn it into something that you go, now you own all the floor cleaning companies in the country? Holy shit. You started out as a floor cleaner. How do you own every store's cleaning company or contract now? Yeah, well, that's how they work. Yeah. But the other thing I see here with the Uzbek students or the Vietnamese or they don't seem to have that entrepreneurial brain or the savviness that, say, the Filipinos in Canada or, I find the Filipinos in Canada, they make all that money, send it home and start businesses. Like my cousin's got a business, my uncle's got even if it's a mango shack, a mango latte or juice shack or whatever, they go home and they start all these businesses where I ask some students, like, you work so hard and you send this money home, but like, where does it go? Or what are they doing with it? I don't know. I just sent it to my parents. But you're 24, 25. Like, maybe you should save like $500 for you and your future and your, improving yourself. But
I think it goes back to that, what I was talking about, the weirdest people in the world, that book. Their loyalty is to their families, not to their individual selves. Sure. So the idea of, I'm going to make some money for myself. No, they're going to do, because maybe they want to put their brother through school. Maybe they want to put their sister through school. Yeah. So like, they're not even thinking about themselves. They're sending money home. And I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know what happens, what the money they make here and they send it back. But
so I always bring it up. Like, what if your dad's drinking and gambling? Oh, no. Okay, but what if? Like, you have no idea. Yeah. What if you go home and say, okay, Dad, I did my part. I lived abroad. I worked. I thought I was going to come home to a palace and, a passive income. And, like, now I got to come back and just be like a regular worker for $400 a month?
But if you...
What was I doing?
Remember what Binod said in his, that everything and every chance and opportunity he's had, he attributes to his dad. Yeah, he's like everything, every chance and whatever I attribute to my dad.
There's a lot of reciprocal relationships that they have there because they're from cultures that were more survival cultures, where maybe their family, like, they were in a hard time and they had to borrow money from their cousin, and then they kind of have to help their cousin out now that their son is working in Korea.
Hermie as well. She talked about taking care of your parents because they're basically responsible for everything. And I think the weird population, I don't think we give our parents enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I don't know about your guys' parents, but my mom's pretty set, and at this moment. So it's like, I don't have to worry about taking care of my mom. And,
but we also grow up like that, where they say you're 18, go find your legs and get on with it. Where here you're paying Chimek for your son till he's 35. Yeah. So I mean, it's if my parents paid for me till I'm 35, I damn well better take care of them. Sure.
That's it. Yeah.
But if you're leaving at 16, 18, 20, fully gone, then I mean, they should probably have the funds they still got to work another 20 years after you're gone. They probably have the means to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
I had a funny one of, you mentioned before about, how the clan or the connection or the community. I had an Uzbek student who said he's not coming to class because he has to bring his brother to the airport. And now, we say like the family and every Uzbek guy in the country is their brother, right?
Right.
Like, I got to go see my uncle. I got to go see my brother. I'm like, how many brothers do you have? How many uncles? I know.
Right,
I just want to, like, it's not your real brother. And you've only been in Korea for 2 years. So, like, how important is this guy? He says, I'm missing class because I got to bring him to the Incheon to the airport. He's leaving. And this is that, the culture and the bringing this guy to the airport is more important than going to class. I said, well, you're minus 2% on attendance and 1% is participation in this. And he says, that's fine. That's not a problem. I was like, what grade do you want in the course? A, of course. I was like, but your actions say you want a C. I would never bring my buddy to the Incheon airport. And I said, how long? You only been here 2 years. How long did you know this guy? Yeah, 18 months. I'm like, come on. He's not your best buddy and your blood brother or something. He's your friend. He's like, yes, he's just my friend. Yeah. But this is what we do. And I said, okay, no problem.
But it's the same understanding that we have to have when Rashawn comes to class 10 minutes late. Because I saw the kid walking home from the factory at 5 a.m. Yeah. I was like, you been partying? No, professor, I'm just coming home from work. And you're like, oh, that's why you're late.
That's why you're sleeping.
That's why you're sleeping in.
Sure.
Oh my God.
But again, so for these guys, I mean, the short term and the long term. Okay, you can send all your money home for 4 years, and because you worked and didn't study hard and didn't learn Korean, you can't stay in Korea now. So you're 4 years up, go home. Or you could keep a little bit of that money. You could reinvest it in yourself, do some online learning, work a little bit less, send a little less home, and stay here for 10 years or 15 or 20.
Yeah. And
send money home forever. Because I just got back from Uzbekistan in the summer. And you know how many damn guys I met there? Everybody speaks Korean there.
Really?
Outside of Tashkent, everybody spoke Korean. The cook, the waitress, the owner, everybody could speak Korean. And they all had a story about either studying or working in Korea. And now they're all, 가고 싶어, 뭐뭐 먹고 싶어, 친구 보고 싶어. All this, I wish I would. But, like, what did you do? 7 years, 10 years, 6 years, 8 years, 4 years. And now they're back and they all make $400 a month. So, I think mom and dad can understand that I'm taking care of you while also taking care of me. And the more I take care of me, the longer I can take care of you. And I can take care of more of you. But this short term, they only see the money at the end of the week. Like, I just have to get to the end of this week to send the money home.
Who is saying about
that some cultures are more of a short-term orientation and some cultures have a long-term, like the Chinese have a long-term orientation. They're thinking
world domination.
Yeah.
World domination.
Versus other cultures,
2,500.
Like here and now, they're like, what are we going to... I remember I was in Philippines and I did like one of those jet ski tours and then, paid the guy for me and my girlfriend, and we paid... And then as soon as we came back, the guy's like getting a massage. He took the money. He's like enjoying himself, getting a massage. I'm like, next day, we did another one of his tours. And same thing. The guy like made his money. He sold his jet ski tour, and he's like getting a massage on the beach.
I do really, really love the YOLO. I wish I could incorporate more YOLO. I'm the exact opposite. Like, no.
But it's 1 foot in the now and 1 foot in the later, but you gotta, this is based on their survival cultures, right? Yeah. They're like that day to day, week to week, because that's all they used to have. We did as well. Our grandparents used to keep money in their, under their pillow because they, didn't have a system where they could invest and all this stuff. So we also, our grandparents probably lived month to month. My parents probably lived month to month or check to check, 5 kids. We didn't have a lot of money growing up.
Yeah.
And now, we're in a position because of how hard our parents work that we can do this.
Right. And the other thing is, they're 20-year-old kids. Their brains aren't fully developed. So they get a big check. It's like, what do you want to do with that money?
Yeah.
They're not thinking like,
I'm LeBron James,
we're
baby.
older.
Ting.
Yeah, I see some kids and they're like, one kid, he was like, I got $300 shoes. I'm like,
let me try that on. Kick him in the ass.
Why?
Like, who are you impressing? And then like,
you haven't heard of heard of Kirkland?
But then like 2 months later, he's like asking people to borrow money. I'm like, who cares if you have 3? Like,
but it takes. I think you have to, like you said, you got to get to a certain level of comfort within yourself and self-confidence, knowing like shoes are important, but it it doesn't make the
Doesn't
shoe,
make the man.
shoes
Hold
don't make
on.
it the man.
These guys haven't been through the trenches yet.
No.
I mean, they're just walking straight into luxury. Like we had a thing on
But
doing job
insecurity,
interviews,
man. Yeah.
doing job interviews in class, and I asked them, "How many of you guys have done a job interview?" I mean, 2 out of 29, 6 out of 25. But I think back to high school, like I think most people had a job in high school and university. Everybody had 1 or 2 jobs. But I was like, you guys are sitting here calling out hell, Joson. This looks like heaven, Joson, because you got designer everything and everyone's got an iPad and an iPhone and iPod, whatever these things are called, buds. And none of you guys have a job. Like, choqueta, what are you guys doing that I haven't learned that you just, you can get all this shit without doing anything? But this is back to the prince and the princess. They have one kid.
Yeah.
They spend it all on one kid.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the parents still think that this one kid is going to take care of them. So they don't want him the construction job. They give him everything so they can just do maximum study output.
What do the super rich people do? Do they just break their kids' balls because they get that it's hard work that really makes you satisfied, not $8 billion in the bank or being pampered every step of the way?
I don't know. There's Shaq is one example of how he treats his kids. And there's a few other ones of really good guys who don't give their kids anything or everything until it's earned. And they got to learn the ropes. They have an easier time growing up, but they have to also go through the stages in the process of learning how to get there.
You know, I think one thing, as you said earlier, Brian, about how you can't really buy anything. So it's like, well, you can't get that. You can't get that apartment. So you might as well enjoy those $300 shoes. You might as well enjoy those nice.
Well, that's that. I mean,
that factor where you can't. You might as well get a nice bag.
There's the Korean thing. I've mentioned it before. It's the shibar biyong, and it's just like the fucking expense where you just. It's the same thing. I'll never afford a house in Seoul. I made $100 today. Why not spend $26 on sushi?
That's it. And that's why you see these like people like trying to show off and flex on Instagram with all their things.
They love the flex.
Yeah, they got to flex because that's how they can flex. They can't do any real investing. And then the other thing is, and this is something that like, you know, because we grew up before the social media, but like the other thing is these companies that are marketing on TikTok, Instagram, like they're giving these kids ideas. They're like controlling their reality.
Absolutely.
With what they want, like on a level that we've never experienced before.
It's not.
There's a lot of pressure. Man.
It's not giving them ideas. They're fully controlled in many aspects of their lives. And they don't even realize. They don't even know.
You can't snap them out of that. That's not something you can wake them up from very easily.
No. Sure.
At all.
And it's getting worse.
Yeah.
The TikTok now, you just. I saw the TikTok in 2 years or whatever is like, oh, I want that shirt. You know, Professor Danny's got that shirt. He's got 6 million guys. I want that shirt. You just touch on your screen your shirt, and it comes up.
You can buy it.
Yeah. So there's no third party. There's no Amazon. They said TikTok might take down Amazon, which you think would be impossible.
Wow.
But now it's whatever. You're
it's just live
Conor
modeling.
McGregor. You're holding this. I go boom. McGregor's got that blue soap. I want it, and it's checkout.
Yeah, I can see
and that's
it.
that impulsive, tech bay guys lined up outside your house because you went for a shit and bought 62 things in 5 minutes.
Or every picture, you take a picture of it, it identifies what the product is with AI, and then they can
see the
put
new
it right in your shopping cart.
See the new Ray-Bans with Meta?
No.
I saw that
Incorporated?
with Zuckerberg.
Holy shit, man.
I haven't seen
anything.
You look at a sign in Chinese, it tells you it in English. You look at a leaky faucet in your bathroom, say, how do I fix this? It just tells you how to fix it.
Did you see the Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman in the metaverse?
Yes.
Oh fuck! I saw that when I was at home. It was so cool.
But these goggles, these Ray-Ban designer glasses, are your brain.
Yeah.
You just think it, and it's already there. It's telling you what you're doing or what you're supposed to do. It's crazy.
One thing back to the flex. I saw a funny picture of Jay-Z. When he had they said whatever, like 1995, he had $100,000, and you see he's got all the gold chains and the grill, and now he's got like $4 billion. He's just got a black suit, that's what it is. I think it comes a lot.
That's where I am. I used to have some chains in high school. I'm on to the Kirkland.
And then I'm teaching the thing I wanted to talk about is like I'm teaching the classes, and you see these kids that are on and they're just like they're listening, but they're like scrolling. And like at first, it definitely like affects my teaching. I'm like looking at these students. Are they
Well,
listening to me?
we have a notorious
It's kind of
student too, and it's just constant. Yeah.
I mean, if the class is a certain size, you really can't. If it's like 15, 16, it's easy. You could get them the full attention of the students. But when there's like 30, it's like they can like, there's enough that they can like all kind of like space out and do that. But at the same time, like because they're Gen Z, I think they're able to process, they're able to listen, and they're able to scroll on TikTok at the same time. Not all of them, but some of them are definitely still listening.
Different degrees of efficiency.
And one of my buddies was saying like they're watching YouTube videos on double speed because the amount of information that they're able to like take in
is not enough.
And we're probably as professors, as teachers, we're like speaking too slowly. Like we're talking and they're like, come on, speed it up, give me the information faster. And I think that's their reality.
Wow.
I mean, I speed up if I get a podcast, but some people are really slow, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if you put this in slow-mo or if this is the regular speed, but I need a little bit faster just because there's not enough time in the day. I mean, I'll listen to 3 hours. If I can cut it down to 2, that's a big.
Hey, listen, he's just leading up to trying to sell us some nicotine.
But it is like all these guys watching this stuff. It's wild, man. If you're on a bus or you're in public somewhere and you just, the cafeteria or something, and you walk around and you just stand behind someone and watch how, like, I'm like, are you reading that webtoon or whatever you're looking at, or you're just getting finger exercise? Because there's
and they had
I can't comprehend that thing so fast, and
they had their earbuds in. Like I see some of them just keep the earbuds, and it's like a stylish thing to do. And I'm like, are you like listening? Are you also listening to my lecture, or are you just like not even listening? You're just keeping your head up,
just noise canceling.
And there's like a setting, because I don't use those earbuds, but like
noise
there's a setting where you can like listen to something, but also listen outside. Of like you can listen to what's going on in the environment, plus like put it on
different
the mode.
degrees of noise blocking, and noise cancellation.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like I have to like tell them to take their earbuds out of their ears, and like
don't you just say I'm do your flex. I'm Mr. Wellness. Get those damn things out of your ears and put your phone away.
Yeah, but they might view that as like you're an old haraboji. Let me do my thing, man. Last night, very shamefully, I'll admit that I spent like from 8:30 till 9:30. I was like, I'm gonna read all these articles, get ready for you. And 8:30 to 9:30, man, I realize now that YouTube Shorts is fucking TikTok. Oh yeah. Unfortunately. I realized that last night, and I was just like, I'm gonna stop at 8:40. Then it was 9:20. I was like, all right, just 9:30. And then I stopped. But here's the thing about, you said about taking in information or whatnot. I can't tell you one video that I watched from that hour. I have no idea what I saw. It was entertaining. My brain was off for a while, but I have no idea. And I don't know if that's...
it's the new cocaine, man. But you don't have to go buy it. You don't have to go buy it. And
it gets better and better because every time you click and every time they got more information.
The algorithm makes it crazier and crazier for you.
Yeah. I'm just titties and people falling down now. But
when we started the TKL one, like our first time on
TikTok,
we're like, we need social media, but we both don't really care about it, but you kind of have to, so you do it. It was girls in Lululemons doing squats for like 6 months. Oh, yeah. And I was like, I don't know. The day we talked about nicotine, the next thing it was nicotine on my phone.
Oh, sure.
So I don't know where it got our Instagram one from, but it was just girls on squat racks.
I'd blame
doing
him.
Slow motion squats for 6 months.
I'd log in and look at it, and I'm like, dude, stop looking at this shit. He's like, I'm not. And then after 6 months, it would be like, girls in Lululemon squatting, chick running in slow motion on the beach, and then like a toothless hockey player.
And finally, it got the real out. Like I was like, this is bullshit. If I watch anything, it's hockey stuff. Yeah. And now it's like hockey, business, entrepreneur, life hacks, whatever. And I haven't seen a squat rack since, but man, that's all they blasted on there. And I thought, like, if you're 17, 18, 19, 20, like you used to have to find a way to steal the porns out of the BFI bins, because at the end of the month they just clip off the QR code and send them back and say, we didn't sell these.
Hold on. What are you talking about? What's a BFI bin?
Dumpster. What? Dumpster bin.
Oh, okay.
The big blue garbage cans.
You dumpster dove for titty magazines?
That was a free way to get them.
Really?
In middle school? Sure. That was if you wanted, like, whatever, the second day of the next month or whatever was the day they sent in their, because you worked at the store.
Yeah.
I worked at the store. My older brother worked at the store. So you knew how it worked. Okay, you got to bring all the magazines back that we didn't sell, and they clip the QR codes. Then they just go dump them all in the thing, and guys knew that's where you went.
Jeffy's still wondering where those magazines came from last year at Christmas.
But I mean, it was hard and required problem solving and like creativity and skills.
He's got to stick with a piece of gum.
But now it like comes to you even if you don't want it, and you're like, shit, someone got my algorithm. I'm 16 to 20. Oh my god.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you could get out of the cycle.
It wires your brain differently. Like all of these algorithms is wiring their brains totally differently.
So hold on a sec. The point I wanted to make, like, I watch it for an hour like a zombie and retain nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas I can watch a TV show and really like embrace it, like, oh, that was a nice story, and I can see the arc and I know the characters and whatnot. But is the young generation watching that and storing all that shit in their brain? Can they recall? I wonder if they can recall a lot of the stuff that they've seen, unlike us who didn't grow up.
I don't know.
Didn't grow up, or is it just a mindless, like, kind of just numbing?
It's definitely numbing, but I think their brains are wired differently, where they can retain and understand. So
is there any
much
studies
more.
on that?
I haven't read any. I haven't really looked into it yet.
Because, I mean.
But I would say one thing that I think is the case is Gen Z's mental health is not good. Like they're so smart, they know everything, but they're fragile. Because like, I don't know about you guys, but I grew up riding my bicycle, going to the park, beating up kids in the park, getting beat up by kids in the park.
Sure.
And these kids, they grew up on their computers, on their phones. So I don't think they've had that like, you know,
I think you should run on the campaign of bring bullying back.
Bring bullying back.
P3.
Yeah, but I think like because I have one class is a introduction to wellness class, and I'm just teaching them like basic things about like how to like, you know, reduce your anxiety thing, and like they're getting
anxiety.
No, they're like, wow, like. You know, I feel so many of them having so much like stress, and it's probably from the social media, it's probably from TikTok, it's probably from all that. But like the
inevitable comparison to everyone else and what everyone else is posting, the best parts of their lives. Yeah, it's gotta make you feel like shit.
They have all kinds of mental health issues. I think a lot of these young people because of the social media, because of the COVID, because of all the things that happened in the last couple of years that we didn't grow. Like I was already a full grown like. You know, 9/11 happened, let's say, I was 21 at the time. So, like, I was already, like, fully developed. So, even though that happened, but if you're, like, 10 years old when 9/11 happens, if you're 5 years old when 9/11 happens, your mother's going to be neurotic as hell. And then you're going to be neurotic as a result. So, imagine COVID-19 and, like,
sure,
it's, like, 10 times worse than that. Yeah, and then all the other things happening in the world. And then the social media makes them more and more. So, I think it's, like, a generation that is... like super smart, they know everything, but mentally they're really weak. They're really fragile.
Put some context around knowing everything.
Knowing information.
Wouldn't have any idea how to do an oil change, but they can find it on YouTube in a second.
Exactly.
And I find they lack a lot of like common sense stuff. And I mean, even like this being able to back to the money thing and, you know, the flexing or whatever. If you look at rich people in poor cultures, they're not living like that. They're not living, you know, the flex and spend. They're saving, they're investing, they're looking to the future, they're creating passive income. The rich people in those countries are not doing that, and it's just the evolution of society away from hunter-gatherers, survivors, and into, you know, industrialization and. But
they're still young too, right? We can't judge them. When I was. Yeah, I mean, I'm still not that smart, but when I was 21, I was a lot dumber than I am now.
Same here.
Not, you know, but maybe give them 10 or 15 years and watch them fully bloom.
Knowing everything, but knowing nothing. I mean, not knowing that holding your phone for 6 hours a day is killing you.
Like to push back, I mean, they might know more about like alcohol consumption and not drinking 6 bottles of soju a night is.
Fair enough.
Lots still are.
Ah,
We're Sundays back, man. Go over there. It's back. Corona killed all that stuff. Well, there's a population of students that are not into that, and especially the Japanese culture. Also, get away from the meat, get away from the girlfriends and boyfriends, and just live this solo life where nobody bugs me, and I just I got my mannequin or whatever companion or.
Yeah.
But China's the same. China just released those. They're trying to put 3 million robots, companions for elderly.
Oh yeah.
Because the elderly, like the number one cause of death for the elderly now is loneliness.
Yeah.
And now they're putting these robots out there because they have this huge population.
Robot
problem.
or like real dolls?
Like robot companions, like a friend, like a frickin' person.
Does it look like a robot? Does it look like a hot?
Like a robotic
check,
person?
yeah.
No, not a sex doll or something. That's Japan. But
and Korean soccer.
But so at the same time, they know everything, but to me, sometimes they know nothing. I mean, they can't, and it's not their fault that they can't figure it out. They've been tricked and duped into watching these phones all day, every day. They've grown up with it, they're born with it in their hand. They don't know anything different. Yeah. It's an attachment to their body.
But they know how to find. Maybe they can navigate and find shit better than.
But the highest suicide rates we've seen for youth. I mean, these aren't the same guys that know everything. In a lot of ways, they don't know how to basically help themselves. The diet is atrocious.
Because there's no struggle maybe in their life.
The diet is atrocious. Ramyeon all day, every day, hot dogs, and now it's, learn from the West. We screwed up, man. Learn from it.
Yeah.
Home Plus has 6 aisles of freezer food now. When we got here, there was 0. There was none. It was banchan every day. So they know everything, but at the same time, it's relative. It's perspective. They know everything about this stuff, but they know nothing about the rest.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where they know things like, well, we grew up like we should do this. We were just tricked by the institution saying, oh, eat this diet, and then the West bought the shit to Korea and all over the world now. And
but there's pushback. I like that.
Yeah.
Japan just banned Frosted Flakes, Corn Flakes, and everything else.
Oh,
yeah,
that's great.
They have 4 chemicals that are banned in like 20 European countries, and I'm just waiting for Korea to do the same, because America, you can do. It's just capitalism at its worst.
It really is.
It's awful.
Is Corn Frosted still going to be okay?
Well, that's what I'm curious. Like if Japan does it, and you see it in the news, and it was all over the news 2 months ago. Corn Floss, Cocoa Puffs, Corn Flakes, and something else. They have these 3 or 4 chemicals that are major cancer causers.
Hey, don't touch my Count Chocula.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see there's some pushback. A lot of things, media narrative and stuff. Like I was watching one the other day that said, put on Al Jazeera for an hour, and then watch CNN, and then tell me what you think.
Yeah.
It's so biased, but you don't know. It's the culture. You have to go out and find it and dig for it. And I think this diet thing is kind of the same. I mean, who's looking out for you? The government? Well, the Frosted Flakes Freddy there, he made a deal with the president to get him into the country because, everybody's getting a handout.
That's it, yeah.
And they don't actually care about you. You got to take care of yourself. You're in wellness, dude.
I know.
What are you telling me yoga's going to be done with screens and TikTok soon, or what? Do your good morning pose and you're watching TikTok videos at the same time? Like what? It can't be.
Well, the thing is, like, if somebody is into yoga, they can go deep into yoga. It's same with like the jiu-jitsu world. It's like when I was training jiu-jitsu, like we would get lucky to find like a video, or someone would buy like one of those like instructional videos. Now you could spend years watching all the jiu-jitsu tutorials online. So if you really want to get good at jiu-jitsu, you can learn it from the internet, and it's the same with everything. So they have access to the world on their fingertips.
But in terms of like, meditating, yoga, these things that are traditionally disconnected from all this crap.
Yeah.
Is this Gen Z generation going to be doing, meditation, watching the monk on their phone in their lap, or what? Like
it could be, man.
It might be. It might be. It's tough to say.
And for them, that might. It might feel the same for us as watching the real guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So what is the direction? You said like you got kids on their phones, earbuds, this, that.
Day one, he just goes around slapping on
You're
their
there
heads.
promoting and supposed to be leading this kind of wellness movement. I've done a few of the surveys and stuff you send out.
Yeah.
But sometimes I wonder, like, who does this apply to? This is like midlifers. This is not for
It is, yeah.
these guys coming up. This has zero. It's completely missing the boat on these young guys who I think some of them need more wellness training than anybody. I mean,
Of course, but it's not easy. I mean, they're young, so they don't have the finances necessarily to go to
Right.
like a wellness resort and do a yoga teacher training class.
but so is your stuff based on like when you have, like you said, is it like lower stress, lower anxiety, lower this, lower that? But they got that phone that keeps fighting you. It's fighting you in class at the same time.
And I'm fighting, like, what I'm teaching is like, you got the smartest people in the world in Silicon Valley designing these algorithms. So I'm going against these algorithms that are designed by the smartest people in the world. So it's a tough one. It's going to be a big issue. And those who are able to, leave their phone at home and do something out in nature, more power to you, And in this competitive world that they're living in, those who can do that, that's going to be a good thing. So it's just a matter of those who can wake up.
There might be
when everyone's
swing.
trying to put you to sleep.
Yeah.
There might be a swing back too. Like people, it might just be like a simultaneous, like, whoa, what the hell are we doing?
I can't believe
This
it
is
hasn't
crazy.
happened already. This is what I'm waiting for. To Gen Z is saying, hey, American Food and Drug Association or whatever is the food industry. See you later. We're not taking this shit anymore. We're not going vegan, but we're going to not ultra process. I think they said like 80% of the average American diets is ultra processed foods. Oh my God. I was like,
What did you call fried chicken last time?
whoa.
The last time you were here, you called fried chicken
Glucose
like
injection or something.
No, glucose
Oh.
to.
The Starbucks. I think I was.
No, something about chicken
chicken.
delivery.
Corn syrup.
Corn syrup.
IV.
It's a delivery for corn syrup.
Corn syrup, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
it's a delivery. It's like a delivery system for corn syrup. It's not
Yeah.
even chicken.
Yeah.
I mean, like, but then again, when I was 20, like, we didn't even know about that. We're just like, go to Starbucks, get a coffee. Like, I had no concept of like glucose and all that crap and all the processed food.
Where
At
now
least
it's
that
the
knowledge
standard.
is aware.
Yeah.
We're aware of the knowledge. So I think those who want it is there. Those who have the knowledge is out there. Everyone knows it's the case. It's true. Obviously, it's the knowledge. The body of knowledge is polluted. I mean, it's like, what is true? You use Google, and Google gets
None of
paid
it-
for by big food companies.
None
so
of it's true.
see, nobody really knows, but
Eat some shit that grew out of the ground. Yeah.
Yeah,
ideally,
it's back to basics. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I try to be a role
Xi
model.
Jinping is right. We
on
need to go
YouTube,
back to
I
the
think.
old style.
I'll talk about it after. I'll make a note.
I
If I say it on here,
I
it's
had
terrible.
a consulting meeting yesterday with students, and instead of like sitting in the office, we walk around the track, and we're just walking around the track, and I'm talking to students, and they're asking me all this fitness advice, and I'm like telling them, if you do this, you can get these bands for like 3,000 won at the Daiso, and they're the best for hypertrophy. I can't even say that word right.
Hypertrophy?
Hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Hypertrophy. And like, they're like just open-minded to my advice, and it's a good thing. And I just, I'm there. I'm like, I try to like be a representative of wellness, fitness, and
You got to walk the walk too, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And that's all us we can do as professors is just like, speak the truth that we know it. That is, we
As you take a drag from a cigarette, like, well, let me tell you,
But that's it. Like, all I could do is share the knowledge from being twice their age now and being like, listen, buddy, like, trust me, I've made this mistake, I made that mistake.
Yeah.
And those who are smart will listen.
Right.
And that's it. That's all you could do. Because the society, as you said, is very strongly pushing.
I haven't asked you, but I've noticed a huge difference from when we were in public school. I mean, teaching in public school here.
Yeah.
You ate at the cafeteria every day.
Yeah.
Was normal, like pretty healthy lunch compared to what
Yeah. Sure.
people would eat. I mean, even when I went, it was like microwave, whatever. It was sandwiches for a long time, and then M&M meats came with frozen foods, and then it was microwave burrito, microwave pizzas.
That's what they're serving now.
No, that's what I mean. Growing up for me, it was
for you.
sandwiches, sandwich, granola bar, juice box,
Yeah.
oh, dude.
and then it went to like microwavable pizzas or burritos or meat pies. But from when we were teaching in public school, where it was like soup, rice, a meat, side dish.
Ooh.
Like veggie.
I ask my students every day, "What'd you have at lunch?" Dude, chocolate cake, chicken.
I want to ask about your kids. Like, my kids will come home with like a 4-pack of cotton candy, and I'm like, where did you buy that? No, this was our dessert for lunch. And I was like, whoa, and you only had 2 of them? Like, it's enough to bring home? No, I got my friends because they didn't want it. And I was like, what? And then it's like cake once a month for a birthday and cake for a special occasion. And then it's ice cream one day. But it turns out it's like 3 or 4 days a week. There's ice cream, cake, jellies, cotton candies. I'm like, this doesn't have a place in the school lunch, man. No. This is a place where the government can take control and promote healthy eating habits for young people. And instead, they're pumping them full of shit.
Yeah.
You'd have to go out of your way to get money to buy at the store or whatever.
See, you now they're eat eggs. Everything else is crap in there.
Yeah.
Now they're just giving it to them in school. Oh, today was great. We had cake and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
So I want to take a bigger role in the parent council.
The problem with that is like with the international students, they don't have that much money. So when they go to the CU, the ramen is the cheapest thing that they can buy. Yeah. So it's 100%. Like they know what to eat that's healthy, but they don't want to spend manwan on a meal. They rather spend.
But I know
working the midnight shift, eating shit food.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a sustainable.
Well, I think the solution is the nicotine that kills that kills the appetite, right?
Yeah.
He mentioned it. I said, "Do you know Dave Asprey?" Must.
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's.
He keeps telling me he doesn't. I want to send him a picture, but I'm sure he knows who he is. I'm sure he's listened to him lots. He just doesn't know his name. But I said, I just listened when he said you and nicotine. Dude, I just listened to like three recent parts of podcasts or his book or whatever that was about microdosing nicotine, and it's like coffee. You can be addicted. You got to take it. This. You can't do it every day. Whatever. Anyway, tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very interesting guy. He's got a lot of
what do you think about
biohacks. I like his work. I mean, he could be a little bit of a charlatan, let's say, with some of the things that he is promoting, but it's better than what the U.S. government's promoting.
Sure.
Like when I compare like the propaganda coming from the U.S. government versus the propaganda coming from Asprey, I think that Asprey's way healthier.
His goal is to live to 180.
Yeah. I mean, that's
and not a shit life, a good life.
That's not the
like he says.
Weird
being skinny and eating kale every day is not how I'm going to get to 180. I want to enjoy my life.
You're not talking about that redhead guy that eats 700 vitamins and looks like his 18-year-old kid?
No, that's a different guy. But this guy also has a tub of vitamins every morning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think anything that goes against like what the mainstream that has some sort of momentum behind it is a good thing because it gets people thinking. And I've definitely followed some of his books. I've read some of his books. I've definitely listened to his podcast. And
I like that these guys are volunteering to be guinea pigs.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, in 30 years, we might all be following him. He's going to be, 80 years old and fit as a fiddle. Holy shit.
How old is he now?
He's like 50s. Probably.
He's not the heart doctor, is he?
No. He's just like a
He used to be obese. He used to be 200 pounds overweight. And now he's... Yeah.
He's a very smart guy, and he's married to a doctor, so all the stuff he does is definitely like cross-reference with her. And like
the way he talks, you'd think he's the best doctor in the country. I mean, he can defend and explain.
Oh yeah, I mean the guy. I mean he's interesting, and I think that it's a good thing, and
they're spending their own money on these things to figure them out, and they want to improve their lives, and if they're testing through this and in a good way, hey, people
and he's
will follow.
Making money. He's probably making millions of dollars on selling his supplements and his coffee and his diet ways and his wellness coaching and all that. And to me, it's a good thing because he is giving a different perspective. And in my opinion, I would say I agree with most of the things that he is teaching. I just spoke at a conference last weekend. It was a wellness or food refurbishing conference, and then my speech was about utilizing and eating like ancestral food, like foods that like our grandma and grandfather ate, and eating that, and then because of eating like that is going to make you're going to live longer, you're going to feel better, you're going to be healthier. And so and that's a lot of the stuff that he is promoting in his podcast and his website. So
stop eating shit out of a box.
Real.
But I like even that, since the industrialization of food, and now these guys, Lieberman and all these, and him talking about the jaw size. And that the jaw size is what contributes to snoring. And because we eat all these soft foods, like even your meat is cut up and soft, you don't eat all the tendons and all the other parts, and you don't just take a piece and rip it off. Your jaws have gotten 23% smaller. This has caused smaller passages for breathing. And our teeth don't fit anymore. And all this stuff. And it's like, wow. He's like, hey, you breastfed for 2 years and you went straight on to steaks and whatever. There was no formula or pablum or crushed or blended food. And I was why didn't anybody tell me that? That's what my kids went through. It's like I would have been throwing Gina steaks, man, if I knew they just had to fight it like it.
And I think a lot of the Korean health is the fact that they eat a lot of these, like, you grow up, a lot of when they're young, they eat a lot of organ meats. They eat a lot of these, like, foods that, like, even fish, like, I was, in my presentation, I was talking about how, like, in the West, we don't eat anything with the animal head, like a fish head or something like that. But the fish eyes, eating the fish eye, which doesn't taste bad. It tastes like just doesn't really have a taste.
Somehow I'm the only one who gets it every time at my mother-in-law's. Oh, you got it again. Lucky.
But the fish eye has like the most ridiculous nutrition, and it's all bioavailable because it's like natural. It's from like a natural.
Are you channeling your inner liver king here?
There was there was that guy that was stuck at sea for 40 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And he was catching fish and he was eating the flesh. And then he's like, after 20 days, he goes, he had an insatiable desire to eat the organs and especially the eyes. And he goes, I couldn't eat enough fish eyes to satisfy me. Yeah.
I'd read this book, one of my favorite nutrition books, Deep Nutrition. And the lady, she's the nutritionist for the LA Lakers. Yeah. So she basically like she worked with Kobe, the late Kobe Bryant. And in her book, I don't remember the quote, but it was like, the fish eye, if you eat that, it's like women will pay $200 to have lip injections with the same substance is what's in the fish eye. And then people who have like injuries, like knee injury, they inject that same substance from the fish eye into the knee to make the knee feel better. So these are like free. I mean, you go to a restaurant, eat the fish eye, and you're going to get like
your mother-in-law gave a couple of those, didn't she?
Like chicken wings. Chicken wings used to be free. Yeah, nobody used them.
I know, yeah.
Chicken wings used to be, $1 a kilo.
Damn.
And then they turned it into this amazing snack, and now it's $100 a kilo.
5-cent wings.
Yeah,
you could have a heart attack for like $6.99.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But a lot of the foods that. And now as Koreans are westernizing and a lot of they're not eating that part of the food.
And it's exponentially going the other way because you're getting all this sugar and all this shit. And this, like, it's not even appealing anymore. Where before it was kind of like, okay, you had a sweet thing for dessert, shike or something after dinner, the rice water, cinnamon water.
Now it's like,
but now it's like, don't even look at this stuff. Meat, okay, and then straight on to the goods. But I'm trying to go the other way where it's incorporate more of the stuff. And that's where I think Liver King's a little over the top. But I think a lot of the things he does do, like you say, is he worse or the government worse? I would say the government.
Government's way worse.
He's telling people to eat organs and intestines and animal parts. And I think it's... Well, but that's where you got to use your filter. But the government stuff is probably way worse.
Mm. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not saying the steroids. I'm saying then him eating alligator and like, hey guys, it's okay to eat we can eat alligator. You can eat this and walking around with the balls all day. It's like, hey.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the nicotine, man.
I actually put some. I have my nicotine lozenges here.
Okay.
And these I got in the States. I couldn't get them in Korea. I couldn't order it, or maybe I could have ordered it over. But I got it when I was home in New York this summer. And I like them because I can have it on an empty stomach, where like the nicotine gum, you need to have something in your stomach that makes you nauseous. And then nicotine toothpicks. But I like the toothpicks, but you can't be walking around with a toothpick in your mouth, when I'm
Sylvester
teaching.
Stallone.
Like,
If you're Razor Ramon.
if I'm Razor Ramon, yeah.
You gotta grow one curl out here.
Yeah.
Natal end here.
So I like the nicotine. What I like about nicotine, I think I said it last time when I was on the podcast, it's like it's out of your system in 1 hour. Versus like if you had let's say it's like 10 p.m., you got to get some work done. If you have a coffee, it fucks up your sleep.
Dude, I had a
Half-life is 12 hours?
I told you.
Coffee's like 6 hours in your system. So even if you do sleep, you don't get a deep sleep.
I had an extra coffee. I said at that new class I taught there at the car rental place. I didn't have the heart to tell him in the first class, like, dude, I just pounded a huge coffee. I screwed up my sleep totally.
Yeah.
Totally wrecked my sleep last night. Oh, yeah. Brutal. So the nicotine's out in an hour.
So nicotine's out of your system in an hour.
Yeah.
So the beauty of that is it doesn't affect your sleep, or maybe it affects your sleep, but not like coffee. And so I like about that, and it's cognitively, like I was reading, like Peter Thiel, who's like a billionaire, one of Elon Musk's business partner for PayPal. I think I saw a tweet from him or someone. He was quoted as saying it raises your IQ by 10 points when you're on it. Like, so when you're on the nicotine, it raises your IQ. And I believe.
So are you going to be selling outside the Sunung next week or what?
See, I'm working out a deal with Nicorette.
Moms, this is it. Let's go. Just 10 points more on the Sunung.
Nicorette, got to pay me some money, and I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
Just cutting lines up for kids.
But the idea
complimentary
of,
straw with every purchase.
The nicotine, and I believe like back in the day, let's say the 70s and 80s, before they started to ban smoking in restaurants and whatnot, I think there was a big connection with the innovation and creativity. Because like, let's say
it's like the coffee boom too, the Enlightenment. No, that was around coffee.
Like
the world ran on coffee and smokes for how long?
Like imagine we're like business. Imagine we're businessmen. We're trying to solve a problem, and then we smoked a cigarette, and we're smoking and figuring it out, and we solve the problem. Now, let's say I need to smoke. I'm not allowed to smoke in the building, so I have to go outside. I get out of the flow state. I go outside. I smoked a cigarette. Maybe I get an idea outside, but it loses the connection with the present moment. So
on the way back into the office, checking your TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're losing. I think there is some creativity that is lost in the fact that people aren't smoking. Now, I don't smoke because I like to have clean lungs. I like to.
Why were you
do sprints on the beach.
I forget why you were taking the
doctorate.
The doctor was giving you stress,
right in your thesis.
And the nicotine gum was calming you down.
No,
or it was helping you focus.
I think I might have probably like an Asbury podcast or something, and I was introduced to it like a podcast about the smart drugs. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, nicotine, and then I was like, oh, I want to try that, and I tried the gum. You can get it for like 10,000 manwon in the pharmacy in Korea, and I was like, oh, this is good. And then what I realized when I had no money and I was, writing my dissertation, I would go to Starbucks. I would go to Starbucks at like, 8 p.m. and I didn't want to get a 5,000 won coffee. Right. I got the nicotine gum and I woke up fresh. And then finally I made a little money and I was like, I would go to Starbucks at 8 p.m. and I have a coffee. And then I would wake up and I'm like, ooh.
Didn't sleep.
And I'm like, Asbury's right. He's right about that. Like, it's out of your system.
So the other one he said just the other day was he was on there talking about fried foods and how it's not food. Just don't eat fried foods. Eat ice cream. It's 100 times better trade-off. But he said, you go eat fried chicken. He said, the inflammation in your body stays for like 3 days.
Yeah.
He said, smoke a cigarette. 4 hours, the inflammation's gone.
Right.
From smoking a cigarette. Man, people don't put it in perspective like that. Anybody would eat French fries or fried chicken and say smoking's bad.
Yeah.
But when he puts in the effects of them, the canola oils, all the shit oils going in, he said smoking a cigarette he's not promoting or promoting people to smoke cigarettes, but the impact and the effect of one cigarette is way less than eating a bucket of fries or chicken or whatever. And people don't realize that. But that was one of his latest ones, and I went, whoa. Yeah, inflammation for 4 days. Like, if you just took some basic biohacks that these guys are out there now, man, I think it can make... I think my sleeping is way better. I think my energy levels are way higher. Just from... I mean, obviously, I'm not slim.
Still shady.
But I'm still down a lot from before. But it's it can make a big difference. And the sleep, Matthew Walker and all the sleep stuff now is... also off the charts of how many people don't sleep and, this and these things in your room. And, oh, my God, it's crazy. But a couple little things, willpower or just dedication to yourself, man, you can change a lot.
Yeah. And I think that the idea of learning how to completely turn off, like getting to like, let's say a 10 is what you're performing at your best and a 1 is like completely relaxed, like where you get a good night's sleep and you're not eating, inflammatory food. The only way you can keep performing at a 10 is you got to be able to get to like a 1 or a 2 in relaxation. But most people, the modern society, they're performing at like a 6 and they're relaxing at like a 4. So they're kind of grinding and they're in this like nasty cycle where they need to wake up and they need to have more and more caffeine in order to have a normal day. Where if you can adjust that, if you can tune into that, curate your reality with what substances you put into your body, but also what kind of things you watching on your TikTok or YouTube shorts, and what kind of things you're watching. You're watching stuff that's negative or you're watching stuff that's positive. And all of that contributes to your well-being.
Absolutely.
And your positive effect.
Sage advice.
Tell me, how much do you have? Like you got a piece of a tablet or something? But
I have some. You got those?
No, I'm just maybe, but I'm just curious. Like, what do? You buy tablets and you cut them into 4s or what?
Yeah, I mean, when I have the gum, I have it in half of it because I don't eat the full gum, and usually like I never really timed. I have the gum, and I just like it's like chewing gum, so I don't really think about like how long I've been chewing the gum, but I do half of gum, and then a tablet I break into 4, and I usually do that on an empty stomach.
How many milligrams in each tablet?
I think it's 2 milligrams for the. Let me see. I have it here. Yeah, 24 lozenges. 4 milligrams. So this one's 4. So I break it into 4. So it's like one. It's like 1 milligram I have, and that's like maybe that will.
I think it's
lasts about an hour.
Cigarettes, 6. One cigarette might be 6 milligrams.
Okay.
Of nicotine. I can't remember.
And then these toothpicks I bought these 2. These are these Picotin. These are nice, but the problem is it's like
you can't walk around.
No. But I'll break these in half and I'll like chew on the toothpick as a.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Are these still mostly used for preventing or to get off smoking?
Yeah, I think so.
So this is not common yet that people are just taking them.
Well, like the ones these are cheaper. These are pretty cheap on Amazon. But there's like another company. I think it's called Lucy, and these are the nicotine lozenges that they offer. They're like. They don't have aspartame. They're more pure. Like these have aspartame sweetener, so it's probably not that great in the sense. But the Lucy ones are better. Those are the ones that Asprey recommends. But I wasn't going to be paying like that much money. It's like, I wanted to bring a bunch back to Korea, so I got the ones that were on sale.
Quit smoking 1 to 6 weeks, 1 lozenge every 1 to 2 hours.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
But for me, I just do it for cognitive work. Like I wake up and.
So when do you use them typically?
So let's say I wake up. It's like a Saturday. I like to get work done. I don't like to be lazy on the weekend. So I wake up and I have a lozenge and I do a little work. Then after about an hour or 2, I have a coffee, and I might have another lozenge. Something like that. That's kind of like. But not when I say lozenges, I have like a 1 milligram, maybe 2 milligrams of lozenge in the morning before the coffee, and then maybe after coffee have another. And I get 3 hours. I get some work done. And it's a really good flow state.
Yeah.
I feel great, when I do it like that. Awesome. And if I'm teaching a class, I might use the lozenge or the gum, and it's the same idea. When I'm teaching, I'm like really flowing, like.
Well, I'm going to get nicotine to sponsor my university and put them outside my classroom for the students because they got to get in the flow state a little quicker.
Yeah, it seems to. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's side effects like anything,
Sure.
But to me, it has more positive. Like, cigarette has a side effect.
Yeah.
But I think of like even like cigarette. Like I'm not a smoker. I don't like the smell. But imagine you're like you're socially starved, like a lot of people these days. And then, what is healthier? Being at home on your computer, or is it better to like be
and
out
have a
smoking
drink.
a cigarette, laughing with people?
100%,
Yeah.
Probably laughing with people smoking a cigarette is healthier in a sense than being alone and lonely, sitting at home.
More
So
benefit to
there's more social wellness involved in hanging out with people, laughing, and same with alcohol. Like I'm noticing, we were talking about this last week. Like I drink alcohol now, and I'm just like, my next day is just fucked up.
Shit.
It just sucks. But at the same time, I'll go out tonight. I'll go out on Saturday night. I won't drink as much as my friends, but I love the conversations. I love the banter. I love the interesting. And like, even though I'm drinking and the next day I'm going to feel a little shitty, I'm going to be a little hungover, I had a good experience. I made some new friends.
But like everything else, I mean, everything in moderation. And same now. You, from Asper or someone else, you know, if you're drinking whiskey waters, it's a lot better than drinking this or that. Or
Exactly.
So you, whatever. If you like whiskey cokes, you might have to change to whiskey ginger ale.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can still go out. You can still get, you know, in the zone there. But, you know, you'll be a lot better off the next day. So
I think so. I agree.
Dude, we gotta wrap this up. I got a class, unfortunately. The once a month class. I hate to kill it, but
thanks for coming, buddy. Always
Welcome,
a pleasure.
Thanks for having me.
Love
Anytime.
the chats.
I'll have to if you guys want to get a few recommendations for you. This my
Absolutely.
friend Mary O'Neill, I talked about her earlier, man. I'll tell you guys about that after.
yeah, we'll talk about it after lunch here. All right, guys, everyone, thanks for listening. Talk to you later. Bye bye.